afternoon, Tobago. Good afternoon to those who are joining us live. Addressed a single matter, but I'm aware that the media may have questions pertaining to the matter that I will raise, and as well as others, and so we will take the questions momentarily. The issue I want to raise this afternoon is with the organization of the Registrar General's office here in Tobago. What we are experiencing in Tobago is the recolonizing of Tobago, a sort of neo-colonial approach to how the Registrar General's office operates. And it has been going on for a long time. I want to start by saying that the Tobago House of Assembly does not manage the Registrar General's office. So when you go to the Registrar General's office and you are unable to acquire services in an efficient manner, I want you to look at your members of parliament from Tobago East and West, and the cabinet members and the senators from Tobago, and ask them why are they agreeing with their counterparts in the central government to recolonize Tobago through the operations of the Registrar General's office. What's occurring there is untenable. And I want to share two particular examples with you. The first comes from the Law Association, and that's the Tobago Lawyers Association. And the Tobago Lawyers Association had an internal memo about a week or two ago to which I became privy to. And I want to share with you portions of their internal correspondence. As a matter of fact, it is a letter that was sent to the Registrar General's office, and I wish to share with you elements of that letter, and I will also wish to make that letter available to members of the media. This letter was addressed primarily to the President of the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Mrs. Lynette Seabaran-Sweet, Senior Counsel. And this letter was shared with me from a member of the association who was privy to this letter going out. And of course, this has broader implications. Now, in this letter, the Tobago Lawyers Association detailed 10 areas of inefficiencies that have popped up since the resignation of the former Deputy Registrar General located here in Tobago, and since there was a decision, it seemed, to take that position back and away from Tobago, because somehow somebody in the central government and in Trinidad felt they didn't have enough power over Tobago and how things are done in Tobago. So I want to start by going through quite quickly the 10 areas of complaint from the Tobago Lawyers Association. The first one is an issue of staffing, and the staffing needs being inadequate, and that sometimes they go to get services and staff that should be providing the services might be placed elsewhere within the organization, and so they have to wait inordinately long to get access to services. Second issue raised is that obtaining certified copies of deeds that were previously registered is taking as long as 4 weeks. So if you want a copy of a deed already registered here in Tobago, you need to wait at least 4 weeks right now to get it. Deeds that have been registered in Tobago, the third area, deeds that have been registered in Tobago have not been uploaded promptly to the computerized online land registry at Registrar General's department, which has made it almost impossible to obtain certified copies if not located on the system. Again, it's Tobago, so they don't care. We don't need to own lands, so they don't care to ensure that we have a system that works for the Tobagonian. So you're trying to register deeds, they just don't care to have it uploaded promptly. And of course, there is no Deputy Registrar General in Tobago. And because there is none located in Tobago, no one has the authority. And so they just take all the authority and carry it back to Trinidad in their neo-colonial efforts. The fourth area of objection raised by the Lawyers Association is that the online facility which enables attorneys in Tobago to order certified copies online is no longer operable. So you can't even go online and order the certified copy. So you have to do it manually in person. For deeds already registered, take at least 4 weeks to get a copy. And if you're doing anything new, you're not being registered promptly online, so you can't get a certified copy, and you can't also go online and order your copy. The fifth area raises that attorneys are unsure whether applications to bring lands under the Real Property Act are still being accepted at the land registry in Tobago. In fact, this is interesting because one member indicated that she attended the registry, made adjustments based upon the instructions of the clerk of the land registry to the application, and then on her return, she was unable to lodge the application. So they are unsure, attorneys are unsure whether or not they can actually bring applications under the Real Property Act if those are still being accepted at the land registry in Tobago. The sixth area raised is that one attorney noted his difficulty in obtaining a return of ownership under the Real Property Act for an extended period of time, and there was no update on his application or query. Again, it's Tobago. Everything taken forever. Issue raised is that an attorney was unable to obtain a no-found certificate as there was no officer present when with the authority to sign the same. So you're going to the office, you're trying to get services that they ought to provide, but they don't have any officer there with the kind of authority to sign off on some of these certificates as is required by law. The eighth area being raised by the Tobago Lawyers Association is that when issues arise which need clarification, the staff, they are just unsure how to proceed because they're leaderless, and the only answer you get is contact Trinidad. I mean, that's an insult to Tobagonians. We move from a place where you could get a birth paper printed or replaced in a matter of some minutes to a place where you have to wait weeks for everything. And the answer to every answer is contact Trinidad. Because essentially, what they wanted was to frustrate the former Deputy Registrar General. They're happy she resigned and go her way. And the decision, it seems, is to not replace that authority in Tobago, so that you Tobagonians have to keep going to Trinidad, calling to Trinidad, applying to Trinidad in order to get the simplest things done. The ninth area raises that the civil and companies registries are also affected by the lack of a resident Registrar General in Tobago. And I don't know if the Registrar General and the Attorney General and his office, if they understand and appreciate that we are separated by water. It's a completely different geographical space. We can't catch a car to go into Port of Spain. And so these services must be available on island. Because that's essentially why I am referring to this as the recolonizing of Tobago through the Registrar General's office. And they are receiving support for this kind of activity from our members of parliament, from our senators, because not one of them ever spoke out against what is happening at the Registrar General's office in Tobago. The 10th area raised is that there has been the issue of staff experiencing difficulties with the computer system, and the staff in Tobago, they must await help from Trinidad if they have to rectify problems on their computer system. Previously, it is our understanding that such support actually came from CAST Tobago. Because remember, the conversation was whether or not they should be under CAST Tobago. So previously, CAST, which is Central Administrative Services Tobago, used to provide that support. And now, everything go to Trinidad. Go to the Registrar General in Trinidad. Let her give you instruction. Let her send up somebody to fix the computers. Wait. However long it takes. And so, these issues, as raised by the Lawyers Association, they now require some urgent answers, because there are some questions that require some urgent answers. And I see the Lawyers Association asking why there were no consultations with the members of the Law Association as regards Act 4 of 2024, which removed the position of Deputy Registrar General from CAST. So they removed the position from CAST, they didn't consult THA, they didn't consult Tobagonians, they didn't consult the lawyers, they consulted nobody, because as far as they're concerned, they want to centralize the power in Port of Spain, and Tobagonians must go to Trinidad to access these services. The next question being asked is, what date will the new position of Senior Assistant Registrar General pursuant to Act 4 of 2024 be filled? When will that be filled? They're also asking, can the Office of the Registrar General indicate how often they have sent an Assistant Registrar General to Tobago for the months of August, September, and October 2024, respectively, and we want the Registrar General to answer. When will the online system for Tobago to order certified copies of deeds that were previously registered be resuscitated? Is the Tobago office still accepting RPA applications? And further, whether a cashier will be employed so as to not cause the daily removal of 1 or 2 staff members from the land registry department to go and pick up cashing duties, and whether there will be technical staff at the Tobago office to treat with technical issues. We're moving in a digitized age now. So why are we not having the Registrar General's office in Tobago operating at the same levels by which they were operating previously? And I want to segue into the second example I have. Just last week, one of my villagers died, 79 years old. When the family went to Bacolet to register the death, an error was made by the office in Bacolet. So by the time the death certificate was printed, it showed that the gentleman who died at 79 was 1 month old. So that's an error. The office in Tobago is saying, look, you have 2 options. You could apply here in Tobago to have it changed, and it will take about 6 weeks to get it back. Who keeping the dead for 6 weeks? That's not Tobagonians, that's not our culture. But the second option is, you could jump on a plane and go Port of Spain or go Sando or somewhere in Trinidad, and you could get it fixed immediately. And I'm asking, so are Tobagonians lesser than as citizens? I purposefully stayed quiet on the issues surrounding the Registrar General's office and the treatment being given to Tobagonians through that office. I sat and I watched how they systematically took away the authority from here in Tobago, sent it back into Trinidad, because some power-hungry public official felt that she wanted to control everything from a centralized position, and now Tobagonians catching the skin to get simple things registered and get the requisite certificates therefrom. That cannot be how we choose to run this Registrar General's office here in Tobago. And they are not alone, because we also receiving the complaints about NIB, how long it is taking to get services. All the contractors are complaining. They can't get simple clearance certificates done in a timely manner. Everything is taking inordinately long. And it feels as though Tobago was taken back in time by a central government who just does not care whether you could get your services or not. They don't care about the implications on you. And so, because this was a central government or a sixth scheduled item, they remove the authorities from Tobago, and now you are struggling to get access to simple services. The Lawyers Association in Tobago should not have had to write anybody anywhere to beg to have these services, these critical services available. And I will make the letter available to members of the media so you can publish it. So you can see the 10 areas of concern, and you can see the 8 or so pertinent questions being asked by the lawyers. But it is affecting us in very simple ways. We cannot have access to quality and efficient service at the Registrar General's office because the certain cabinet felt it wise to remove the position from Cast Tobago, carry it back to Trinidad, and therewith take away authority, take away privileges, and take away your opportunity to have access to prompt and efficient services. That, in essence, is the act of recolonizing Tobago. And so I want you, Tobago, to ask those who all of a sudden have found their voices on this Tobago autonomy issue. Ask them what autonomy they want to advise you on when they are agreeing to taking away autonomy that you once had and carting it back to Trinidad to the central government. That's the question you must ask of them, ladies and gentlemen. And so I wanted to be extremely clear, because there are some Tobagonians who feel that it is the Tobago House of Assembly why they can't get a death certificate on time. Why, when errors are made, it takes 4 and 6 weeks to get. Why, when you are trying to get a copy of a previously registered deed, it takes a minimum of 4 weeks for your lawyer to get it. Some people think it's the Tobago House of Assembly why that is happening. I wish to advise you that the Tobago House of Assembly has nothing to do with that. That's the central government, and that is happening because Cabinet took a decision that was not in your best interest. And I want to remind you that you have Tobagonians in that cabinet who sat down and agreed with that, and now you are suffering because they made bad decisions on your behalf. And I wish to point that out to you. I will now take questions from members of the media who are present. Any questions from members of the media who are present? Are we having technical difficulties, or are they? Okay, so thank you. We have no questions. Are there any questions outside of the matters just raised by me that requires my attention and response at this time? Okay, thank you very much. So with that, Tobago, I want you to perhaps resurrect an old theme, an old mantra for Tobago. This mantra of standing in defense of Tobago. Now might be a good time to resurrect that. Now that you see that the little autonomy you had, they are being systematically taken away from you, and you are not being given the opportunity to actually govern yourself in the way you desire. I see that there is a late question coming in. Ms. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chief Secretary. I don't know if you're also aware there's also a situation with companies, like if you want to renew the registration of your company, there's also that situation.
Yes, so
I would have had a personal experience with that, where I went to Trinidad and I went to the Office of the Attorney General in terms of updating. You know, you have to do your annual updates returns on your foundation, etc., right? Your returns. And when I went to the Office of the Attorney General, the process in Trinidad is easier, where you just have to sign a form to make changes. And once you hand them the form, they will make the changes on the computer. So I'm not sure why in Tobago there's this issue where it's a long process online. And I don't know if you are entertaining any other questions otherwise than the Registrar General. I wanted an answer from you. I know you spoke about it already, but I wanted an answer from you with respect to the SRC and in terms of increases for parliamentarians and also yourself and Tobago House of Assembly members with respect to a salary increase, if you think an increase should be now.
All right, thank you. So let me do with the first one. Yes, it will impact you who are trying to have your company returns done, make changes on the directorship of your company registry, and or register new companies. You are being impacted. And the reason why, Ms. Williams, it's easier for you to find the $400, go to Trinidad, take a taxi or catch a car, get into town, go to AG office, get it done in a day, and potentially come back to the airport, sit down there, car get a flight, stay on standby whole day, possibly sleep till the next morning, pay a $50, change ticket, and to come back to Tobago before you could get it done directly in Tobago is because the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago took a decision to remove the position of the Deputy Registrar General from the Tobago space, and to also strip away some of the authority and powers in Tobago, and now you, the Tobagonian, can't have access to critical service. We can't be talking an autonomous Tobago or a Tobago with where there is equality in status between the island of Tobago and the island of Trinidad. And if you're in Trinidad, you can get things done same day. But if you're in Tobago, you must wait 6 weeks. Because somebody else, not you, made an error in registering a death or made an error while registering your company. And then the online systems are not working. And while our online systems are not working, we are trying to simultaneously convince the country that we must be going digital. But our digital systems are failing. That is an example of failure of the central government. And they are failing the people of Tobago in this regard. With regards to your second question, I have been quite clear on this matter. Now, to the government's credit, I have not heard a cohesive and or a singular position on whether or not the government, who in fact has the majority in the parliament, will support the increases of the SRC at this time. My position is that if all are we taking a bite, all are we must take a bite. And so we can't on one hand be mooting a position to the unions, to the public officers, to all of our workers that we don't have enough and we can't give you the increases you deserve, the increases that are reasonable, and we must give you far less than what is reasonable because we just don't have. And at this time, we, the elected officials of the country, take on an increase that we deem to be fitting of the office and the work that we do. It must mean that if the elected officials and appointed officials or the political directorate is getting an increase that we think is deserving, then the public officers, those who were doing candlelight vigil last night and who protesting every Monday morning, the port workers, they must also get the increases that they deserve. It must go across the board. And I am saying, if our position is that we are all under some strain right now, and we are all tightening our belts collectively, then we all must tighten our belts collectively. If you go back to 86, thereabout, when NR was in office, you know what they did? They slashed salaries for everybody, including themselves, because that's what leadership does. So it can't be no to the public and yes to us. And I very much understand why some in the Tobago House of Assembly feel as though they ought to get an increase. For example, Minority Assemblyman Mr. Duke, his salary was a salary I lived on for what, 5 years? Lived on that, bought clothes on that, catch bus on that, catch maxi on that, same salary, did charity work in my district on that same salary, held community events on that same salary. It's just about $11,000. I know most of you persons say 11,000. As a matter of fact, teachers are paid more than Minority Assemblyman Mr. Duke is paid. That's just the reality. As it is right now, the Minority Councillor's salary is just about 8,000. It's not much. But I'm saying there shouldn't be an increase at this time for the political directorate if it is the government and the Ministry of Finance is saying to the unions, no, we cannot give you an increase that is reasonable and that meets market demands, that satisfies inflation rates and the cost of food, etc., etc. So if all of us making the sacrifice, all of us must make the sacrifice. It can't be one or the other. Ms. Gonzalez?
Good afternoon. I just have two quick questions with regards to the Registrar General matter. Do you plan to probably formally write to the PM or the AG on this matter? And from the TAJ end, what action can the TAJ take or is planning to take to probably get this issue resolved in the shortest space of time?
First question, yes, the communication is already drafted, but I was in exec all day today, so I couldn't review it. The second question, the THA really and truly is powerless where the Registrar General's office is concerned. I want you to understand that that's directly under the remit of the central government. And so changes in the functionings of the Registrar General's office and the now inefficiencies here in Tobago is brought on directly by actions of the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, of which there are Tobagonians seated there, of which there are Tobagonians supporting the central government administration. And I am wondering if it's deliberate to just punish Tobagonians because Tobagonians took a particular decision in 2021. So because Tobago rejected you, you have decided to use your powers and authority to water down the Registrar General's office in Tobago and to force Tobagonians to suffer to get simple certificates, registration certificates, whether it's for death, birth, businesses, what have you, as a form of punishment. I'm wondering if it's a form of punishment. But to answer your question in short, the Tobago House of Assembly does not have any authority whatsoever over the Registrar General's office in Tobago. It's not a fifth schedule item. And you know I am very big on minding my business. So I will mind the business of those things that exist in the fifth schedule, but the others I would advocate strongly for. Right, I think we have no other questions at this time. So, oh yes, Ms. Gonzalez, your hand is up again.
Yeah, just some comments from you as we have you here. Next Friday is going to mark the 3rd anniversary since your administration won the TAJ elections. Just briefly, if you could just give me some thoughts on how the last 3 years has been and probably highlight some of the challenges to date.
Sure. So you're correct. Next Friday will mark the 3rd year anniversary. It will also be 2 days after Tobago celebrates its 44th year of having the Tobago House of Assembly. And in this our 44th year, it is sad that we are still grappling with issues regarding Tobago's quest for autonomy. And that autonomy is really giving Tobagonians, in essence, the rights, the legal rights, to determine for ourselves the type of governance structure that we want to govern the island. The challenges we continue to face are challenges that are placed deliberately in the way of Tobago's development by a central government that is indifferent to Tobago's development and doesn't care about Tobago's development, quite frankly. And so we will continue to meet those challenges head on, and we will continue to deliver for the people of Tobago and ensure the people of Tobago benefit from sound leadership and good governance, transparent governance. Tomorrow, when we go to the House, we have debates tomorrow. When we go to the House tomorrow, the Secretary of Finance will lead us in debate. The Secretary of Finance will go through the reprioritized projects for this fiscal year, in this our 44th year as having the Tobago House of Assembly. We will debate that in great detail and share with you so that you can create your own checklists at home and follow as we deliver on those items that we deem as priority. So I wish to thank you all very much. Have an engagement all the way in Charlottesville, the most beautiful village in the most beautiful district, electoral district in Tobago. So I'll be heading up in that direction now to be with the people I represent on that end of the island. So you will appreciate that I need to make a speedy exit. Thank you very much. But we really needed to make it quite clear that the Tobago House of Assembly is not responsible for the Registrar General's office nor its operations there, and therefore you ought to pin the responsibility fairly and squarely where it belongs until such time as we have returned to Tobago the quality and levels of service that is required and needed by the people of Tobago. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the day. Have a safe week.